Happy Tuesday, everybody. Today is January 26, 2021, and today's podcast is with Byron Horton from the Whitetail Experience, and we're talking about all things self-filming. Welcome to the Fall Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Blasey, and today is episode 144. And like I said in the beginning of this, today my guest is Byron Horton from the Whitetail Experience, and we're talking about all things self-filming. Now, this is an extension of a video that Byron did on his YouTube channel. So if you go to Whitetail Experience, the Whitetail Experience on YouTube, he titled this video, Self-Filming is Hard. So when I saw him come up with that, I'm like, I've been wanting to do a self-filming video. I shot him a text. I'm like, dude, we need to elaborate more on this. You got some great points, but I think it'd be cool to get into the weeds about self-filming. I mean, it is one of the questions that I get the most on a weekly basis is, either what camera should I buy, or I'm trying to get into this. I want to self-film. What camera arm do I need to get? So I'm like, let's just get on and talk about this and do it. So disclaimer, sorry, I'm a little sick, and I've been sick for a little bit now, and I can't kick it. I got a little bit of a cough, and it's annoying. So it happens to me every year, and just so happens it's this time of year. So with that being said, I just want to brush on some things that we talk about. Byron, he does basically everything self-filming, and he deals with the guys at the Whitetail at Whitetail Addictions as well, and they are basically all exclusively self-filmers. So when he's producing and editing that show, he's dealing with all self-filming content. So it's cool to get in and get his side of things, but also get my side of things. I've been self-filming ever since probably 2010, I believe, somewhere around in there. I can't really remember what year it was, but I've been self-filming doing it, and it is stupid hard. Like, it really is. I've been fortunate enough to actually take some deer self-filming, but it brings another element of the hunt, not just the hunt, but you're thinking of everything and more. So we get into, why we self-film. I basically only really self-film around Michigan here, and I get into why I do that. But yeah, it's a really cool dynamic, and we get to talk about on a little higher level on, what I do as far as the differences between me filming someone and then me filming myself hunting, if that makes sense. So we get into that, and he talks about, his self-filming and everything, and how he basically, the way the conversation got started is he was like, when do you say, well, forget the camera, I'm not getting the kill shot? And I kind of text him, I'm like, well, I kind of have to get the kill shot. So he's like, yeah, we definitely need to do this. So it's a really cool podcast. It's a lot of good conversation. We talk about some gear as well. We dive into a little bit of that. But if you guys have any questions, and we might do another one, like, I'm not opposed to doing that, but if you guys have any questions, DM him, DM me, whatever. I mean, write us somehow, get some questions out there, and we should just do a Q&A question or podcast where we just answer those questions. So that'd be pretty cool. So if you guys are interested in that, hit me up, let me know, and we'll get more into the weeds on stuff that you guys want to know in particular. So I guess with that being said, I'm going to stop blabbering here and get over this interview with Byron, because it was amazing. It was awesome. If you couldn't tell, I say that every week because I just love every episode. So here's that interview with Byron, and thank you everybody for the support, and hopefully you guys enjoy this one. All right, welcome back to the Fall Podcast, and today I've got another return guest, Byron Horton from the Whitetail Experience. Byron, thank you for coming back on, man. How you doing?
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure anytime I get to talk deer with you, and man, I'm amped up. I'm ready to go.
I am too, and this, for everybody listening to this podcast, this will be basically an extension of a video that Byron just came out with on his YouTube channel, talking about self-filming and how it is very difficult. So if you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to go to the Whitetail Experience a YouTube channel and watch that video, because it might put a little more context in what we're going to talk about today. Because when you put that out the other day, I really thought to myself, like, okay, we need to talk, because I think you and I can talk kind of on the same level as far as, no, we can, like, on filming and producing, but then also hunting. I've been self-filming for 10 years now, and I think you're kind of in the same boat. So I think it'll be a good one to bounce ideas off each other, but also get into the weeds of, like, why it's hard and all of the stuff that goes along with it, because I have a love-hate with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you quickly messaged me like, hey dude, we gotta go do like a back and forth style podcast on this, and you do this at on the A-team level as far as the production, the videography, the editing. Me, I'm kind of like under the radar, kind of a B- team. Like don't get me wrong, I've done a lot of editing and video work and little, but yeah, I'm definitely notches below yourself. But I think it would be an awesome kind of conversation, and I think some cool stuff will get discussed here today.
For sure, man. So let's kick it off here. So basically, you put this video out and you talked about how it is hard. Now let's start. I think if you think you're good with it, let's start with that. Like, let's get it out there. Why? What are some of the things that make it so difficult in your eyes?
Yeah, the title of that video, self-filming is hard. And I kind of put that out there because I think it's timely too. And a lot of things make it difficult. I think a lot of guys jump into that adventure thinking, oh, I'm going to self-film or film my hunts, and they really don't know what can of worms that they're getting into. I think a lot of people have watched any sort of watched hunting product. What, 80-90% of them are not self-filmed? Would you say, Aaron?
I would definitely think that for sure. Even like, especially if you're talking about TV world, like there's like hardly none that are self-filmed. You get into that digital YouTube, social media kind of world. I would say it's even more or self-filmed probably. I would say.
Yeah, so maybe it's a shifting. It's kind of a shifting percentage now that we're kind of hitting in more of a digital age. But
sure.
Myself, I'm 30. I watched a lot of hunting outdoor channel television. Early on when and all those shows, there's a cameraman and a filmer. So me starting self-filming, there's no instructions, there's no real guys to look at as how they're producing, or they're very limited at this point, if I rewind 5 years ago.
For sure. Yep.
Equipment, another issue that is now starting to catch up with the times, that I'm sure we're going to get into. But hunting is difficult enough, and guys that are trying to become better hunters, to elevate their game, to generally, I think guys listening to podcasts are trying to better themselves in the woods and kill like a little bit better caliber buck, or I'm going to, add this to my arsenal. I'm going to maybe try and kill 2 bucks in a year. I'm going to go out of state and kill a buck. But these guys are evolving their game, and obviously adding a camera in the tree and being both the cameraman and the hunter. Well, now you've got two things going on. A lot can happen quickly, and it can be very frustrating.
For sure. Definitely. And like I said earlier, I have a love-hate with self-filming, but I love the idea of it. And the reason being is because, for one, I'm going to just kind of go back a little bit, and, I do basically all my self-filming happens in Michigan. When I'm on the road and I'm filming Casey or I'm hunting, I always have someone filming me. And the reason being I do it by myself here in Michigan is because cat's out of the bag. Michigan is a high-pressured state. Everybody knows that. But the thing is I've been filming for a long time with a cameraman with me in Michigan, and it got to the point where I wasn't killing deer, and I was like starting to be like, why am I not? Like, how do I need to figure this out? Was it something I was doing and I didn't lacking in knowledge of deer hunting? I was getting on deer, but for some reason or another, it just wasn't happening. So I started thinking like, well, That's 2 people. That's 2 stands. That's twice the movement, twice the sound, twice the smell. And it's like, could it be because I have another human with me? And is it just like, is it more pressure? Is it like, I hate asking one of our guys, even though that's what we do, when we come off the road, and it might be, we might have 3 days to hunt in Michigan. All 3 of us might want to hunt. I don't want to be like, hey, Keegan, hey, Lee, hey, Adam, like, come film me because I want to hunt. So it's like, I just rather because they want to hunt too. So I'm just like, I'm just going to go,
Did you ever give up, like a good day, like a cold front, late October, or maybe a rainstorm stopped at noon, and you couldn't get out because you, one, didn't have a cameraman, or two, you had to go film one of your buddies?
Yes. Yes, I have.
That could be a huge factor.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point, because, and I've done that because I don't get a lot of seat time in the stand with a bow in my hand, so whenever I do get time, I want to go. I want to be able to make the best I can of it. But kicker is between, the difference between you and I, and you talked about this on your video, I have to get it on camera. You don't necessarily have to. That's all for you. It's all up to you if you want to do that or not. If I didn't have to get it on the camera, I would say piss on that camera, because I had an instance, and we'll get into it, a couple years ago, and it aired on our TV show here in Michigan. I had a really good Pope and Young buck that would have been one of my biggest Michigan bucks at the time. Come into a decoy, and I was self-filming. He was at 35 yards broadside, and I'm trying to get the camera on. I don't even have my bow in my hand, and producer just took over in me, and I'm like, okay. And it's like, he's going through my last window. Like, I should have just had my bow in my hand and get an arrow in him, so it's just one of those things. But I guess the moral of the story is, like, I just didn't want to have to ask anybody to go film. And it was just twice the decisions, twice the everything in the tree. And I'm kind of like a Lone Ranger. I just would rather go and do it. And I don't want to have to be like, okay, let's go. Or, hurry up, hang the stand. Like, I just want to go. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I want to go do what I want to do. And that's kind of the moral of it, what I was getting at.
Oh yeah. And, I touch about it a little bit in that video. Like, when you go into the timber, I think as a solo filmer versus with another guy, like with another guy, you're naturally going to communicate around decision making and
For
stuff
sure.
like that. And I feel it definitely can hinder the process. I don't know. I think hunting is very instinctual, and personally, I kind of like the fact that just if you took filming out of it, just solo man bow hunter, like, my season is somewhat up to me in the decisions I make and the effort and energy I put in. And sure, there's a couple other external factors and time and stuff like that, but at least for myself, I'm the one making decisions on stand location, the exact angle of the platform, where I've scouted in the past, or where I'm going to spend my time on a Saturday afternoon that, I'm allowed to get out. So yeah, I see why you definitely kind of went down that path of, man, if I'm going to kill bucks, I think I'm going to have to start doing this as a solo filmer.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess I want to go back a little bit and kind of ask you, when did you start self-filming? Like, when did you make that jump that you were like, I'm going to do this? And I guess, what was your mindset going into it? Like, were you in the mindset of, I got to get this on film, I got to get the kills?
I would say that shifted as far as you got to get the kills. But as far as getting into it, so Whitetail Experience started, and we thought we were going to kind of team up and film each other. And a couple thoughts kind of evolved in that first season. I started solo filming more. One, I wanted to hunt. I think that's an easy understanding. For sure. Two, I felt bad making somebody film me, because I'm like, this dude scouted this off season. This guy has limited time off. Because, the Whitetail Experience is all working guys, that have a 9-to-5 and a family for the most part. And so he's sacrificing the Saturday morning or the Thursday after work time slot that he could either be scouting or hunting, and he's filming me. And I I started to think too that we don't have a ton of shooters, that everybody in the, on the team needed to be in a tree with a bow in the hand.
Yep.
And I will say that year one, maybe year two, I felt like, yes, we had to get kills on video, or buck encounters on frame. And that maybe because we were building a brand.
Yeah, and you felt obligated that you needed to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I am to the point that I could ditch a camera. I think and that's more to the point because I've kind of built the brand, and I think and I think my storytelling, I think my videography is better, so I can still parlay an awesome video, I think, without potentially having a kill shot on video.
Yeah.
And I think the YouTube community, the solo filmer guys watching, I think they're more forgiving.
It's acceptable.
To some of that now,
yeah,
than 4 or 5 even years ago.
For sure. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like my buddies and I back in the day, this was like 2008 time. We started our own the first brand that I started, and it was through college, and it was kind of it was going to be my final project going through college, because I went to school for television and digital media production, so it was going to be like, I'm going to produce a feature film, and this was like right hot when Whitetail Adrenaline was starting to go, so that was like my inspiration on it. So I'm like, okay, why not get my closest friends together, create this little brand, and we're going to do it. But it was hard for me to be like, you guys have to get this on camera, when they weren't making a dime from it, when I wasn't paying them or nothing. They were buying their own camera gear, they were hunting, like you said, they were scouting, they were doing all of it. And then once a guy self films and doesn't get it on camera, it was like, well, shit, like, we're trying to do this the right way, but they don't, they're just out there doing their thing, and they're not really video guys and stuff like that. So that was tough. But now when you throw monetization in it and you're getting paid, it's a little different ballgame too. And I feel like, I've been successful on bucks and does with a bow, self-filming. I've been, I've missed this year. I self-filmed a buck here in Michigan, missed him, a good buck, but it wasn't necessarily because of the self-filming, and we'll get into the reason why. And you kind of touched on it in your video, and it made me think about it. And it was a great point, but I think what a lot of self-filmers will take from it, but we'll get into that. So that was kind of my thing is, yeah, I want them on camera, but let's figure out how to tell a story, even if it's not on camera, because there's a compelling story somewhere in there. Every guy every self-filmer goes through like, well, shit, he wasn't in frame. Let's tell the story that's compelling to let everybody like still feel like they're in the tree with you, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I think your and I's first couple years making a run at it, very similar thoughts. But now, like you had mentioned, you have contractual obligations to get it on video. And I think that pressure, I would definitely feel in the tree if that was me today. Like I think that was a very interesting point, that you're kind of bound now to produce at a higher level, probably because you've built your skills and you do what you do now. Like that, I can see why.
Yeah.
But that is definitely an added pressure. Like when I'm in the tree with a camera and you're in the tree with a camera solo filming, you've got a lot more on your plate.
Yeah, and I will say though, if I had that instance back a couple years ago when I had that Pope and Young, I haven't killed a lot of Pope and Young bucks in Michigan. If I had that instance again, I would get what I could. Well, first of all, I would have a POV camera that would be my bail shot, over the shoulder, that it's just on a one touch, whether it's a GoPro or whatever it is, that it's a wide angle. And I know I was on a field edge where I knew, it would be getting it. And I would just say, I would get as much as I can with the main camera, and I'd be like, okay, nope, I know he's on the bail shot, I'm shooting him. I am to that point now where I will do that, or if like the great Hambino walks in front of me again, sorry, I'll get as much as I can, but like,
oh yeah, like if it's your biggest buck, you are forgiven from anything.
Yeah.
Like That is true. Like if I looked over in the woods and I had a double dropper at 17 yards coming to me, like no, like dude, I probably wouldn't even think about the camera. Like it's like, oh maybe, dude, like no, like if
Yeah.
it's your biggest buck, I think that becomes a different story.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is I would say like I would get what I could get, and then go wide and just hopefully I get it, and I need to put an arrow in it, you know. But I will say one positive, because I have shot a few bucks on camera. One positive of having that camera, and you know, my mind is always on that deer while I'm filming when he's walking in. You know, it's not like, you know, what you would have just hunting. Like it takes my mind off of like the other blackout hunting stuff that you could go through. Like the buck fever, it kind of takes buck fever away in a little bit for me. And when you go to full draw, it's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm more locked in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there is a distraction factor if it's a type of encounter that maybe you see the deer out there at say 40 working to maybe 20. And you can get some footage of it. You know, you're steering the camera where it needs to go. You're making sure it's the red light is blinking towards you or says record, and all of that kind of takes you off, say, working yourself up. You know, because I feel like at least in deer and buck encounters, when they take a little longer than a bang bang play, like that's when the heart rate really starts to increase, and that's when, you know, like you get yourself worked up. And because you have a camera there's like a distraction. I would agree with that 100%. And Hollinsworth, I know, has spoke about that it has helped him, he said, in some facet kill bucks.
Yep. Yeah. So in that, I was talking to him a little bit this year. I mean, he's automatic, it seems like to me, like when it's self-filming in big deer. You know, I'm kind of looking at my notes here. I just want to make sure I touch everything, but I guess, you know, we're talking about the hardships of it and what makes it so hard. I guess that would be, but like, what would be your number one thing of like why you hate self-filming?
I would say I would say a lot of things, but like one, the producer in me hates I want to tell a good story. Like
Sure.
I am into videography. I want to produce a higher caliber video, especially with myself as the hunter and videographer, than you know, some of the other stuff out there in the digital space. I just, you know, I want to hone my craft. I want to be good at it. I think I have you know, honed some skills and ability. And so like for me to not get some of the additional shots, or not do what's hard, like set up a tripod while I'm getting dressed, or shoot a time lapse as I'm walking into the stand or hanging a stand, you know, it's very easy when you're hunting to just want to get in that tree.
Yep.
And sometimes the time doesn't allow you to produce at a higher level. But when it comes down to editing, you know, my film at the end of the year, if I didn't get those extra shots, if I didn't take the time to maybe white balance the camera, check all the settings, or doing making sure an interview was in focus, because I use autofocus a lot of times, that can mess up. You know, with these cameras, I don't have one of the new Sonys or a Canon where I can flip the screen towards me. And I've shot an interview where the whole thing's out of focus, and I had some good audio in there, and now I've got a task on hand to mask it. You know, that to me is sometimes the frustrating part. And then obviously, it's a lot of extra work. It used to add 10 pounds of gear 2 years ago. Now it's probably closer to 5 or 6. Would it be nice for me to carry both a lav mic and a shotgun mic as a solo filmer? Sure. But like for run and gun mobile hunting, I've kind of cut back on that. And all I do is carry a shotgun mic, because, you know, to hunt every day with it like that, I just can't, you know, I got to limit the stuff I take to the tree.
Yep.
To keep hunting hard, to essentially create that opportunity.
Yep.
What do you think are some of the things that make, you know, self-filming hard or difficult, or your frustrations with it?
So I agree with you on everything you said about the producer side of things, because I'm going to be a little different though. And I'm going to say it's lugging everything to the stand. I hate it. That is my biggest pet peeve with it. It's like, shit, I got to go out and take this tree arm, and I got to take the camera, and I got to get it. Like, I'm just going to be a little different. I'm going to say that's what it is. But I mean, in hand in hand with that, it's the producer side of me of, you try to do things on a high level day to day for the TV show / digital show that we do with Humanimal. And then it's like, okay, you're going to get what you're going to get with self-filming. So I feel like that also goes hand in hand with the, lugging everything in. But I would say, make sure you can accept the fact that you're self-filming and you're going to get what you're going to get. Like, you're going to be as good as the time you want to put into it, I guess I should say. If, like you said, like, I should get the time lapse of me getting ready at the truck, like, you're going to be as good as you want to get those kind of shots, those extra shots,
Well, let's take that time lapse, for example. And because guys will say, oh, to shoot a time lapse, that's easy. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means you wake up and get out the door, say 15, 20 minutes early, because you've got you got to get to the parking lot or your destination of where you're hunting, and either kick out a tripod or end up propping that camera. Now you've got to dial the settings. If it's a nighttime lapse, those settings could be a lot more difficult to get right.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so at this point, you've taken a couple extra minutes. It's early, you don't want to do it. Everybody, when they're driving to their hunting destination, is thinking about just getting in that stand as stealthy as possible.
Right.
But, you're jacking around with this camera settings. You're setting it on a tripod, making sure what's in focus should be in focus. And then you push play, and then you essentially have to set up the shot yourself, and then be also the actor, and then you also got to get ready for a hunt and not forget, say, your release or something, because you're so focused on the camera, you may forget a ball cap, and you got the sun in your eyes then all morning. Stuff like that happens, and I think we almost just glossed over, like, okay, getting extra shots, what does that really mean? But that's time, that's energy, and effort. At a moment when you just want to get in the stand as quiet and stealthy as possible.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like, I've been doing this long enough to where it's like, oh, I'll go back and get that shot. I never do. Like, you got to be, to me, I live and die by, man, should I get that shot? If I say that to myself, I need to get that shot. Like, you get it now, because you won't come back and get it. And when you get into the edit bay or whoever's editing your stuff, they're going to be like, dude, I need something here. Like, I can't tell the complete story here. So I would say definitely get that shot. But, for something for me that I go through every year, and it's like Groundhog's Day, you hunt 4 or 5 mornings in a row, and it's like, well, shoot, I'm filming the same damn stuff every morning, like a vlog in the truck as I'm driving and talk. So I try to, like, mix it up, Maybe Monday I do a vlog in the truck. Maybe Tuesday morning I'm doing like a vlog in the house, like while I'm getting coffee or something. I'm just talking, like changing it up so it's not like Groundhog's Day repetitive, like you gotta, keep doing the same thing. But I will say, with a lot of the extra stuff, like, I use a vlog camera for my storytelling, if that makes sense. Like, I vlog everything just because, A, it's convenient. I can do it on the fly. It doesn't take up much, extra time. I can do it while I'm pouring coffee and talking to the camera. So that's kind of my storyteller. And then, when I get into the tree, the SLR or whatever camera I'm using kind of takes over. But that vlog camera is my storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I would say, but not just that camera, because I think at least I've told you this. I think that the Kiefer brothers use POV cameras probably to the best, and you guys have the better mic setup.
Yeah.
And I don't think you use them as a crutch. I think you use them in probably one of the best ways, where it's some sort of scene or shot that I need to encompass a lot of my surroundings or whatever, and it's not relied on to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, and when you talk about, your video, you're vlogging your day, you're speaking to it. Sometimes, like, even like yesterday's interview, but today's interview, maybe you have some frustration in your voice.
For
Maybe there's a
sure.
tiredness in your eyes. All that comes through because you took the time to shoot that again on day 2.
Yep.
I would say I also have maybe like a 5 and 10 day rule where, okay, Tuesday after work, I've got an hour to get in the stand. Maybe that's not the day I get all my extra shots, because, it just doesn't happen that way.
Yep.
But Saturday I get to go for an evening hunt and I've got a little extra time. So there's a solid couple day gap. Maybe that day I get some of my extras, that help tell the story of a season and of that particular hunt.
Yep.
And I think too, you pointed out, what makes that tool, your GoPro camera, makes self-filming easier, and that is not talked about enough in probably filming hunts in general, because if something is easy, you're going to utilize it more often. You're going to use it as a tool, because it's easy.
For sure.
It's not something that you've got to dial up like drones, for example. They're a little bit of jack around to get those shots, and so I feel you probably don't use it as much as, say, your POV that you can turn on, get the mic in there, and get across the shot you need.
For sure. And that, to me, convenience and ease when you're self-filming is key rule number 1, because I don't want this to feel like work. I don't want to feel like I need to, I can't enjoy hunting because I'm doing this. So the ease and simplicity, that's okay to me. I film every day of the fall. And when I come home and I get to go sit in a stand by myself, I don't want me to be like, damn it, I got to take a camera with me, yada, yada, yada. That's why I push the easy button, even though I'm out there still trying to get or, accomplish the goal that I set out to do. But it's okay for it to be easy. I literally run a GoPro 3 Plus Black as my POV. It's a workhorse, man. It still works great. Yeah, it's a GoPro. You get that GoPro look, but I bought a wired lav mic for it. It's like a 6-foot cord on it. It literally is better than a $700 Sennheiser mic. I'm not kidding you. I can't remember the name of it. I tried. It's ceramic or something like that, or ceramic. It was $45. Best freaking purchase I've ever had. I know that GoPro is going to be in focus. I know it's going to look good enough.
Yep.
And I know that the audio is going to be second to none. And that's why I run that.
Yeah.
And I recommend doing that. Just ease. And don't break your back and break your bank account with just, especially if it's something you're not getting paid for. Just do with, a lot of these iPhones, I just got a new iPhone 12. This damn thing, the video on it is unbelievable. You could use your iPhone filming.
I hate seeing guys go out and buy cameras when they could buy like a little Joby tripod with a cell phone clip. They already have like you said, I have the iPhone 10. I just upgraded to it from an 8, and I'm like, dude, I can shoot 1080 60. I can shoot 1080 120 with this thing in 4K 30. I'm like, Jesus, this is a tool.
Yeah.
And it's not the latest and greatest iPhone, but a guy could go out, probably get one of the cheaper arms, because all he's got to do is support his iPhone, an iPhone clip for his fluid head of some sort, and then a Joby tripod, and he could figure out if he likes doing it.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you on easy use. Aaron, another pain point of mine, that I want to talk with you on, because I'm sure we have similar battles, is deer footage.
Yep.
And I'm not talking just the kill footage, but I'm talking overall deer
general
footage that you see through a hunting season. I don't get a ton of it. I think I put in that video, I probably get about 20 to 30% of the deer I see in a hunt on video. And I think there's a couple factors there. What about yourself?
So I fight with it the same way. So for instance, this year in my 1 acre piece of timber, I can see the fields all around, so I'm on the edge of it. So on the one side of it is a CRP field, so I can see through the timber and see everything in the CRP. Well, I had an instance where the sun was coming up, and I look over and I see a deer coming. So my initial feeling, my thought is like, binos, need to figure out what this is first, because he's coming at me, and he's got the demeanor as a buck. So I'm like, I don't even touch camera. I put the binos up first. I'm like, okay, it's a buck. Who is it? Trying to figure it out. It just so happened to be a buck that I had not seen since midsummer. So then my mind goes, okay, where's he going? And am I going to get a shot at this deer? Then it's like camera. And so then by the time I get to the camera, he's already in the thick stuff, and it's like, okay, I didn't get any footage of that deer. So then I'm like, shit, so like, how do I tell this story? Because that's like kind of an encounter that I would like to be able to show. And I have some sort of trail cam history with this deer. So that's when I started like going back, like, how do I tell this story? And that's when when he walked off, I vlogged it, said, hey, this is what happened. I have trail cam videos. So I always like refer to something where people can see the deer. They want to see the deer. And it's hey, bummer. I didn't get, but in your instance, you're hunting a lot of public land. You might not have history with a deer or pictures of a deer. And I know you run a lot of trail cams, but I'm just saying not every instance is like what I had. But I agree with you. I don't get a lot of deer footage, and it's a battle. It is a battle, because I don't care who you are, you're going to think hunting first when you see that animal. Like, I can't imagine a lot of self-filmers out there like, oh, first, and I do it for a living. I film for a living, and I don't go for the camera. I probably should go for the camera first, but I'm like, I'm in Michigan here. I'm trying to kill a 3-year-old that I have very few of, and it's like, I'm trying to figure out what I can do here, but I bet you, what'd you say, 20 or 30% is what you get probably? I'd say I'm close to that. Yeah. It's not much over it.
Yeah. And I think, I'm a huge Midwest Whitetail fan. Like, I love that web show.
Yep.
And those dudes have so much footage, but you kind of forget that all the main characters have a dude behind them with 2 cameras.
Yep.
And one of those is some sort of zoom camcorder so they can get the footage. And then the other ones, can be like more of a Sony A7 III or something like that.
With that being said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I struggle. I feel like, I think one of my best days, I saw 8 deer, and I got 0 of them on film, and one of those was a buck. Yeah. One of those was, I look at, if you look at the course of the season and people want to see buck footage for the most part, I bet I had, like, let's say 10 encounters. I might have 1 or 2 of those bucks on video, whether it be you catch a glimpse of them through the timber, or I get an encounter on the ground. Like, it's a very difficult situation to pull out. I've now strapped a Tacticam to my bow to help with some of that. But, I went for a morning hunt and saw 8 deer and got 0 of them on film. Like, It's awful.
With that being said, though, like, how many of those encounters where, like, you see a tail flicker and you look up with the binos and it's like, it's a buck, but he's gone? Like, how many of those?
He's walking away from you, and then he's over the crest.
So let me tell you this, though. Like, even if I'm filming Casey, if I'm like, this is like all the time, I feel like, even when I'm just filming and not hunting, I'm filming someone else. Those instances happen all the time. Where it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think this year. There's probably at least 5 or 6 buck encounters that Casey's like, big deer, big deer. And by the time I look up and get the camera in my hands and try to find the deer, he's gone. I don't get to hit. Like, that happened 5 or 6 times this year, maybe even more.
What percentage? Like, because we just threw out that we video roughly, 20-ish% of the deer we see with you, with Casey. When you're the main cameraman, that camera's closer to your face, so it's easier to find them in the viewfinder. What percentage do you think you're at?
It's a lot higher than with a cell filmer, but I would say
50?
I'd say I'm closer to 70%.
Okay,
65, 70%. Yeah.
That's still a decent amount of deer not getting captured on video. And You're one of the only people that could probably speak to both.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, and I feel so I in some instances I'm like, shit, I didn't get that on camera when maybe I could have, but then maybe it's in the brush or something like that. But it's always something that, like, if I'm with Casey, we always do like a talk where it calls it out. Like, hey, we just saw a big deer, but don't know who it is. Like, we couldn't get the camera on him, kind of thing. Like, we call it out because whether we use it or not, we might have that deer step back out, and it's like, oh, it was the deer, from this morning or whatever, and we didn't get footage of him. We actually ran into that when Casey was filming me on the Hambino in Iowa last year. We moved stands the morning that I shot him. He walked underneath the tiny dancer stand that we were in the whole week, but Casey couldn't film him under that stand. I could see him. I remember, I can see the picture in my head right now, but there was so much foliage in the way that is a crucial part of the story, but he just couldn't film him. And so as a producer, I got to feel like, well, how do we draw that out of, like, the frustrations, through a talk? Because you couldn't really see him walk under the stand, so it's kind of difficult. But I would say at least 65 to 70% of the deer I am getting, but that's 3 to 4 deer encounters a sit I'm not getting, if you put it that way.
That's still a higher percentage than I think the average person knows about. Aaron, do you have any, like, tips or thoughts around how to maybe capture more deer as a self filmer?
Yes. So, and you hit on this in your video, and it just reiterated, like, it's exactly what I did this year and what I've been doing the last couple years, but pointing my camera in the highest percentage of where you think deer are going to be coming from. That is, I think, the biggest thing to do. And what I would do, so my self-filming rig is I run a 24 to 105 lens. So it's you can get some sort of zoom, but I'm usually running like a Sony A7S II or III or a 5D Mark III or IV. Well, with the Canon 5Ds, the 5D Mark III doesn't shoot 4K, but with the Sony stuff, we do shoot 4K. So I can bump in a little bit, which is nice to have. But what I like to do, because if I can run autofocus, I do, but this year with all the self-filming stuff I did, I was running a Canon glass with a Sony camera, so it wasn't, not jiving, so I had to, focus myself. But I'd run a higher f-stop, and I would always focus. So let's say I would get a shot, maybe a couple tights in my bow or something like that, some product shots, and then I know I'm going to sit here for the next however long till a deer comes in. I'm going to point it in the highest percentage area where I think deer are going to come from, and I'll focus at 30 yards. I'll put my focus, because I'm not autofocusing, I'll focus the camera at 30 to 40 yards, because depending on my scenario, if I'm on a field edge, I'll focus at 60, 70 yards, because I know I'll be able to see the deer and get time to get him coming out. But if I'm in the timber, I'm focusing as far as I can see, basically. If it's tight quarters, I'll focus the camera at 30 yards to where I can just reach over, hit record, and maybe one hand get the camera on the deer, and I already know it's somewhat in focus.
Yeah, can I ask a selfish question here?
Yeah.
What so I run, I would say 70% of the time, maybe even maybe 75, a lot of autofocus. And I go back and forth on which mode in the Sony camera is best. I go back and forth between, say, the wide and the center. Because some of the timber I hunt, I think I can get away with some of the autofocus. What mode do you use on your Sonys?
I typically run wide.
Okay.
Yep, I typically do. I do bounce back and forth. But if I'm self-filming, my whole thing is, like, I feel like more will get picked up if it's in wide,
and just bump that f-stop high.
Yep, I usually bump it a little higher and just kind of, like I said, get what you can get, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I tip. But I do run both. But I will say, on a higher percentage, I run wide.
Yeah, I do too. I just wanted to make sure I was probably doing. That was a selfish question. I wanted to ask somebody.
No, you're good.
A higher level, what he uses. So
no, that's all good, man.
What is your thought? Because I generally am recording all my deer footage stuff in 4K 30. For guys listening, that's 30 frames a second. Some podcast guys don't know the video talk, but I find myself sometimes pointing and shooting and not necessarily staring at the screen, because that screen, when I set up my solo filming, it's more of like, just below waist level, kind of like right about below my belly button, but not much more. And for me, standing, because I generally shoot when I'm standing, that's a long ways to look at a very tiny screen with
Right.
limited quality on that screen as well.
Yep.
What I guess, are you doing anything? Do you set your camera arm higher? Have you messed with doing that? What any thoughts around that?
I'm more of a hip guy. Hip to like hit in between my hip and my torso, like, kind of your breasticle region, somewhere like in the belly region is where I like to do it. And it kind of depends on too, like what arm you're running, because if you're running like a muddy arm and you have like maybe a bigger camera, you maybe like a bridge camera or something like that, or a camcorder, they sit a little higher. DSLRs sit a little lower. I like to be able to, I stand a lot when I'm hunting in general. I hardly am ever sitting down. So I like to be able to, if my hands are right at my side, if I see a deer and he's already on alert, I like to be able to just know that I can reach over with my right hand and grab it without me looking at it. So I want it to be like right there, like minimal movement. So yeah, it's somewhat lower. Usually I would say I don't get any lower than hip level, because then you're kind of bent over, and you're a taller guy too. You're taller than me. So, bent over a little bit, that hurts your back, and you might have a deer staring at you for 15 minutes and it's like, I'm stuck. What do I do now?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's typically what I do.
Yeah. I had another question I was going to ask you too, and I can't remember.
What do you run while you're trying to remember that? What do you run in for a lens on your stuff? And like, what have you found out to be the best lens in your scenario to use?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the mission of the day, but like my 24 to 70 is kind of my workhorse lens. I like that lens for photos if I'm out in the field, and I really like what that can do from bow hunting 40, 50 yards and in. Now true 60 yards, you're asking it to do a lot. It packs in the bag okay-ish. But I am playing around with a bridge camera now too. That new RX10 that they kind of redesigned.
Yep.
I think they redesigned it. Was it early last year?
I believe so. I haven't like dove into that camera much. To kind of keep up with it.
So they put and they used to have I think a 25 to 200 lens on it. Well, now they've got a 200 or a 24 to 600 lens on it.
Okay.
So that made the profile a little bigger, but it still packs smaller than my A7 III.
Yep.
And then they put in some high frame rate technology where it maybe takes a second or two to buffer, but it can shoot some high frame rate stuff, some 240.
Oh, it does shoot 240.
Yeah.
Is it in 1080 or 720?
1080.
Okay.
And I haven't had this camera long, and I haven't been able to fully play with it. It takes okay-ish photos.
Okay.
From that aspect of things. But for the price per lens zoom, like it can also, reach out there pretty good.
Yeah.
And honestly, Aaron, as a solo filmer, if I'm hunting mid-October, right, and the last 3 hunts I haven't got a deer on film, I'm probably likely to take the bridge, or I used to have a cheaper camcord, a Panasonic just above their entry level.
Yep.
That I had, and I would throw that in the bag just to kind of look at my end of my product as oh shit, I haven't got any deer footage. If I get a 4-point out there at 40 yards, I maybe should pull the camcorder out of the bag and film him. Yep. But yeah, like now, like, yeah, if I went a couple hunts with no deer footage, I'm more likely to probably bring that bridge camera along. So that's kind of my dual setup right now. A lot of guys too self-filming though. I don't think I would push them to the kind of what you and I are running. I think I would definitely steer them more towards those Sony the AX33s, the 43 and the 53. I think.
And I get this question a lot. I mean, almost weekly of guys just,
I'm sure.
I'm getting into self-filming, like, what should I get? And my questions always is, like, what's your budget? Like, because it varies so much, it just depends on what you want to do with it. Anymore, I lean towards a bridge camera, a camcorder. But a lot of guys want that dual purpose. They want the camera that can take good photos, but then it can also take, good video. And it's like, well, with that comes a lot of different things. I feel like, more money, because once you get like a 16 to 35 lens, you're like, well, that's a wide angle, but now I need like a good zoom lens. So then you're like more money when you can just get a camcorder, and you can have autofocus, you could have good audio, shotgun mic. You can usually put a lav on a lot of them. They're built like brick shithouses. They are built better, in my opinion. There's a lot of SLRs out there that are built really well, but the bridge cameras are built like really good. They're meant to take some beatings. And I just feel like they're more versatile when you're not as advanced, I guess, if you're just getting into it. I always tell guys, like, go buy a $500 to $600 handycam, see if you like it first, and then go from there. You can always upgrade, So that's where I always say start. But honestly, if let's say I was like totally 100% self-filmer, I'd be going bridge camera. I've got, everybody's usually got an iPhone or a nice, iPhone with pictures. Like, you can do some dangerous things with iPhone pictures. But you're not going to be like a Peter McKinnon, or Lee Chose or something like that, a really, top end photographer. But, it just depends on how much you want to put into it. If you want to put a lot into it and go full force, and this is like going to be your passion, and eventually you want to like make money at this, then you might want to spend a little bit more money to niche yourself and make yourself a little bit better than the next guy.
Yeah, dude, I have a confession, and I don't think I've told anybody this, but
this is on the record.
My favorite shot from my 2018 film, like B-rolly shot, actually came from my iPhone 8, which, dude, the iPhone 8 is not the newest iPhone.
No.
But dude, I shot it in 1080-60, and I was in the snow, and I had a sunset coming over behind me, and I didn't bring in my better Sony camera, just because I was going in and it had snowed the night before and everything was wet, and I was going through a thicket. I literally changed clothes at the base of my tree because I was so soaked from all the snow blowing off like the honeysuckle onto me as I was walking in.
Yep.
And so I wasn't going to take the risk of losing my high-end camera due to weather conditions. And I turn around in the stand right at sunrise, and it's the most beautiful shot. And then, like, the snow's just bouncing off the tree limb, so it kind of looks like it's snowy. And I put the iPhone right between the crack of a tree to kind of give it some depth, dude, it is my favorite shot of my 2018 film. Even over, like, a head turn at 120 frames a second, like. And it came from an iPhone 8,
if we're doing confessions, I got a confession to make then too. So back last year, 2019, for anybody that hadn't seen the deer that I killed in Iowa, the Hambino, I know I keep name dropping and doing this, but it's something that nobody picked up on. But when Casey and I moved the stand from the Tiny Dancer to the new spot, Casey was like, I'm going to get up there and start hanging this tree, because I was bringing more equipment in. I mean, we had 2 stands. We had, I had my bow. We had our packs. He had camera gear. We had everything. And we're like, looked like 2 pack mules walking down the CRP grass. And he's like, I'm going to get down there. And I'm still pulling stuff out of the old tree. And he's like, I'm going to get down there and start hanging. I'm like, okay, because we wanted to get right in. Finally, I get down there. All the camera gear is packed away in a pack, and I'm like, man, I don't really want to bust it out right now. I want to get up in this tree. I literally needed to do a vlog. I knew I needed to do something to get us into, like, why we moved that tree to this tree, and I was lazy. I didn't want to get the camera out of it, and I'm like, you know what? I had my phone in my hand, and I had it on 4K, and I'm like, I'm going to see how this looks, and I turned it sideways, and I shot 4K 30. I did a vlog. If you go back and watch, you'll see, like, if people want to go back and watch the video, you'll see Casey, the shot is in my face, And I go, Casey's like right above me, and I kind of pan up and he's up there. And I said, we just moved from there to here, whatnot. That is with my iPhone, like, I don't know, 8 or something. I can't remember what it was, but like an old iPhone, and nobody's the wiser, aired on TV, and you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things, like, it goes back to like the ease of use. And being simple, simplicity and convenient. Yeah, I probably should have pulled out the A7S3, but it's like, I had it right there. We're trying to be quiet. This 186-inch deer is in the same ditch we're in, but he was only like 150 yards away, we figured, and we're trying to be quiet. And I'm like, I just need to get this. Like, that's okay. Like, I feel like, don't think you have to, go. I'm not saying settle. That's not what I'm saying at all. But
you get the shot.
Yes.
Instead of thinking maybe I should get it. At least you have it on some device. And like you said, the cell phone's in your pocket. Generally, guys are taking a backup charger of some sort to the stand for the most part. So you kind of have some better battery life if you would use it up.
100%. Yeah.
I am okay with that as far as a tool, and definitely a tool, dude. Yeah, you can do a lot with an iPhone with a little bit of understanding of videography.
Yep, for sure. We're coming up on time here. I want to be conscious with your time as well. Do you have anything else that you want to cover? I'm kind of going over my notes. I feel like there was so much I wanted to cover, and I don't know if we've got it all yet.
I think the theme that we've kind of stressed throughout, to make a good product as the solo filmer, yes, it takes some extra work. I think but also that ease of use. I think those are kind of the two themes of this podcast, and I think those are what you need to stress to I guess the audience, because I got to think a guy's going to read the description on this and he's into self-filming or wants to take it to the next level. And I think those are kind of the two biggest takeaways. Aaron, what does your setup look like in a mobile situation, as far as when do you put your camera arm on the tree, and do you pull it up with your tow rope and then set it? I guess that's the only other factor of this thing is setting up and running your camera arm, and how do you do that?
Great question, because that's something that I toy with a lot. And my whole mindset is, when I get to the base of my tree, I do not want to be at the base of the tree very long. I want to get up. And last year I adopted run and gun mobile hunting a lot more. Like, it was more of a thing that I did all the time. So, and you and I were talking about it on the phone the other day, just bullshitting about how I'm trying to go more simple and really trying to downsize. But to answer your question, so when I'm running, and I use a Tenzing 12, what is it, like a 1250 or something like that, fanny pack. It's a fanny with like shoulder straps. And the reason why I run that is because I can last year I ran a Muddy Outfitter arm in base, and this year I was talking to you about, possibly switching to the Lone Wolf pocket arm, the Lone Wolf custom gear pocket arm, which that's something I think we should get into after this, and the reason being why. But so what I would do is I'd put all my camera stuff would go in my pack, except my vlog camera. My vlog camera is always in my hand, because I never know when something might happen, and it's always on, that I bump it on, or I keep it on one touch, like with a GoPro where you just turn it on, it starts recording, where I can be vlogging into the tree, or maybe I see a deer and it's like, oh, pick it up real quick, and even though it might not be zoomed in, I still have something there to tell a story. So all my camera gear is in a pack except my vlog camera. And that is small enough to where I can just put it in my pocket if I need to. But camera, all I'm running is a camera, a lens, SLR camera, a lens, and a shotgun microphone. I don't use a lot. I do use a lot, but it's hooked to my GoPro. So every time I talk, I'm looking at my GoPro. That is my second angle, my bail shot, but that's my talking camera. But that's all I use, and all that goes in my pack. When I get to the tree, I climb up with it in my pack. I hook my bow to the bow rope, and the outfitter arm and everything's small enough to where I can attach it all right to my pack. So everything's on my back except my bow. I get up in the tree, first thing I do is I put my bow hanger in, because I'm already usually attached to the tree with a lifeline or something, so I know I'm not gonna really fall out. I put a bow hanger in. I pull my bow up, hang my bow, put an arrow in, put my release on, and this is before I even take my pack off, because you just never know what, it might be like I might have to shoot something coming in with my pack on. The buck I shot in Kansas last year with my bow, I was in the stand 6 minutes. I just hung my pack up and he was walking in. I had just put an arrow on my bow and I grabbed my bow and he came and I shot him. 6 minutes we were in the tree. And I was pulling the second camera angle up on the bow rope in case he was clipping in the camera, and he goes, shooter coming. He turns the camera on, hits record. It was so blown out, the first shot. Like when he hit it, it was so blown out. He's like trying to adjust it and the deer's coming. He's at 18 yards and still coming. And I grabbed my bow and I shot him at 4 yards. And I'm like, that can happen a lot. You never know.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons when I like put my camera away for like transport or generally going on a hunt, I put that ISO in auto.
Yes. Yep.
Just for that particular reason, where you may have to pull it out and two, sometimes like in changing light conditions, you need some of those auto functions to help you as a solo filmer. Not to get distracted, but I thought that was worth a 2 cents
for sure.
there.
No, I agree. Yeah, so I make sure my bow is good to go. Then I take my pack off. I put the base on, strap the base on, put the arm on, take the pack out, put my camera on, make sure everything's functional, everything's good to go. And then that's when I like put my GoPro up above me. I always put it on a little screw in right above like head level, so I can always turn around and look at it.
Do you leave your GoPro running like the final hour of daylight or anything like that so you don't have to turn it on?
Nope. I usually run, if I'm not running a remote, that's usually like on my harness or on my like my like where like you have those pack pockets in your bag or your your coat. I usually hook it there to where it's just like boom, or I'll put it in my my pocket in my pants or something where I can just hit like a one touch button and it turns on and it's recording. So I had to worry nothing about it. I don't typically keep it running. When I am filming someone, my main camera, I keep running all the time. I never turn it off.
You never turn off the POV, the GoPro?
Nope, I never turn off my main camera. So like the big
your
camera.
main camera. Okay.
Yep, it's always on standby. But when I'm self-filming, I always turn it off. Just because I don't want to jockey with batteries and stuff like that. In the SLR batteries, they don't last as long as like a big bridge camera or an FS7 that we use. So that's kind of my system. The camera's always to my right. I'm a right-handed shooter, but most cameras, viewfinders are off to the left of the camera, so it'd be really hard to shoot, with the camera to your left. So my camera's always to the right. I guess that's kind of my whole deal. My whole thing is like I want, especially with hanging and hunting now, like I don't want to have to go up and down the tree numerous times if I don't have to.
Sure.
So, and you can speak more to that. Like, so like, what's your kind of routine when you're getting in and hanging and hunting with all your stuff?
Yeah. So I ran the pocket arm and then my POV, which I had actually ditched. That like I used to have one of the SJ cams 5 years ago, as far as a knockoff GoPro. And I found myself, I stopped taking it because it was another step in the whole process of hanging a stand, hanging a bow hook, hanging a camera arm and hanging a POV. So I kind of ditched it for a couple years and only had one main camera in my cell phone. This year I ran a Tacticam below my stabilizer on my bow. And part of that was I liked how you mentioned you set up your GoPro that all you got to do is turn it on and it knows to start recording.
Yep.
And my thought is I tend to have some ground encounters from scouting and still hunting. And so that's why I added the Tacticam to the arsenal. As far as I ran the pocket arm, and I have a small bag, so I run a very small backpack.
What are you running for a backpack?
Dude, it's like a 20, it might be $24 Amazon tactical backpack. Small tactical backpack. You can punch that into Amazon. There's like 3 or 4 different kind of makes, models under $30. I will say I've seen the new custom gear Wolfpack. It's got a built-in spot for the camera arm.
I'm excited to see it. See, Hollinsworth sent me a
Yeah,
couple
that's good.
little tight screen grabs, and I didn't get to see the whole thing yet.
Yeah, yeah. So that thing's gonna be sick. Yeah. So I have a small backpack. So sometimes I end up using a gear tie and putting that pocket arm like on the outside of the bag, especially if I like pack lunch, say during the rut, and I got a lot in there. Otherwise, I can fit that pocket arm, especially I'm running right now late season, just 2 segments of it instead of 3. I can fit it in that bag real easily. And
Okay.
I generally hang all my sticks, stand sticks up in the tree. And this year I added it's a 3rd arm bow hanger. And that just takes one less step out of the setup so that I can pull my bow up and I don't have to put in a bow arm to a tree. I can just put it in that wedge. And I've liked that change enough. And hell, Cody does that. He's got a smaller profile one. I don't know what he uses, but that was something I picked up from him, that it's just one less step in the overall process. And I've really enjoyed that.
Okay.
So yeah, I generally do come back down after hanging my standing sticks and either put a jacket on or put a bibs and a jacket on, say during the rut, and come up for my final ascend. The nice thing about the pocket arm, it's got a bag holder in there. And so like, that's another less step, between the bow holder and the pocket arm having a place to put my backpack. I mean, that's 2 less steps every hunt. And then the tactic cam on my bow, now I don't have a POV going above me. I mean, that's I apologize. We got a truck driving by me.
Oh, you're good.
I'm sitting in the driveway, guys. This is my best recording studio without a child screaming.
I'm in my basement, so I think everybody's probably heard my heater or the furnace kick on and off a couple times. So
yeah, so that's my setup, and then I get to the top of the tree and put that pocket arm on and kind of go from there. I know guys sometimes will pull the arm up. I think my buddy Dave does this when the tree allows. He'll pull that arm up and set it after he's hung his tree stand. So then that way he's already got that done. He comes back down, he puts on his jacket, ties his bow to the bow, bow hoist, and goes back up. And that way, once he gets up there, he has one less step to do with, he hangs that arm with less clutter, if you will, because that's sometimes the fear of self-filming is when you put that bag on the seat, you're trying to get organized quickly and make no noise. And I've at times dropped a camera arm out of the tree during that process, or you lose a bag.
yes, for sure.
I may or may not have had a Canon ADD take a dive bomb from 20 feet.
I can tell you this. I've been filming for a long time now, professionally for 9 years, but I've been filming pretty religiously since I've been 16 or 17. I'm 33 now, so it's been a while. I have yet to drop one camera out of the tree yet. Not even a POV or anything.
Yeah. Oh, so I did it on accident, kind of. So I did an observation sit before season. I was 3 sticks high with, and I took my camera and I had it in my XOP backpack. And I was getting ready to get down, and I didn't think about it. I just tossed that bag down because there was honeysuckle underneath me.
Yeah.
And it was pre-season. I wasn't thinking stealth mode. I had just done an observation sit before season, and I literally, that bag hit the ground. And I was like, oh shit, my camera was in there.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, I felt like an idiot. It survived.
Yeah. But trust me, I've dropped plenty of batteries and all that stuff out of the tree, but never a camera. Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you keep your strap on your camera on your any SLR or mirrorless that you run around with? Because I ditched the strap and I ditched those little rattler guys that are on the side.
No, I don't use straps or nothing. I haven't used a strap, but it's just
you run a small cage of some sort. Do you have a recommendation
on the
there?
A7s.
Question.
Yeah, on the personal questions are great. Whatever you need. The A7 series, we have cages on them. We just bought R5, Canon R5, and we put a cage on that as well, just because we like to run a rail system sometimes on that, for shoulder rigs and all that. But the A7 series, we have all cages for it. They are MovCam cages, I believe, if I remember right.
Do do you like the cage for a solo filmer? And I guess what a cage is, I guess we should probably touch on that for the audience real quick. It's just like a protective. I don't know how to describe them. Some of them are super elaborate that allow for a lot of attachment points, but some of them are just very slim profile and essentially go around the body of the camera. They almost look like mini 2x4s with holes through them that surround the camera.
Yeah, and I do recommend it if you can, if you can afford it, and for a couple reasons. It protects your camera like crazy. For the other reason is there's a whole bunch of holes, threaded holes around it, so I like to take and put, if you really want to get technical, or if you really want to get, try to get more camera angles, I sometimes will run 3 camera angles. I'll put another GoPro on a little threaded articulating arm that I can put facing back at me when I'm running the camera, which is a really cool view.
Yeah.
We started doing that for like last year, 2019, we started doing it. We hadn't seen a lot of people doing it other than like Whitetail Adrenaline guys.
That's who I was thinking of. Yeah. It's so cool when you see Jared with that monster rig of his and this like, I don't know, dongle thing coming off his like body. You're like, what is he doing?
And that's what we started doing last year. So the cameraman, producer, whatever, he's not so much of like, oh, he's not there. You know what I mean? It's more of like, he's a character too. He's here, he's doing it. And when you embrace that, it just makes it so much more fun, more cool. And actually the viewers, after they watched our show last year, was like, love that edition. They really, really digged it, really like it, because I feel like it's more of like, it kind of takes, I shouldn't say it takes the professionalism out of it, where it's not like, you're not like everybody else out there on TV. Like I think the coolest thing about Whitetail Adrenaline is they show all that stuff. They show the ins and outs of, there's a cameraman there and he's part of it too. Like they show that, and we wanted to do the same thing, and nobody's really doing it but them. And so we adopted it, and I think you're going to start seeing it be more and more of like, that's what people are doing.
Yeah. Well, I could see for this is two guys geeking out, and I apologize to the listeners, but for a night recovery,
100%,
you could add one of those cheap newer lights or whatever. I have, some of those that are like I guess for the audience, newer lights. They're essentially video camera lights that don't pick up on the shutter effect, if you will, that you see with some flashlights or indoor lighting. But for a nighttime recovery, and let's face it, a lot of bucks get shot in the evening hours. You could still run your shotgun mic plus a light source of some sort. And I currently don't have a small rig or something like that on my camera, but after this conversation, I definitely may go price them out.
Yeah, there's a ton of them out there for every different camera, every SLR. I'm pretty sure it's the Mauve cams. I'm trying to remember. We've had them for so long, and they're kind of worn out just because, the wear and tear that a camera takes is ridiculous in the fall. But no, I recommend it just because if that thing does fall, it does save, a little bit of your camera. And another thing to do too is buy a screen protector for your screen. It is literally
and a lens protector.
Yeah, like a UV filter or something like that because it is so imperative, because it's just like your cell phone. It will happen. It'll get cracked. You'll drop it, hit a rock. You'll brush it up against a tree. It'll scratch. And I'm telling you, those screen protectors for like $20, if not that, it's worth its weight in gold.
That's like a 3-pack for $20.
Yeah.
I think I literally have one coming today for my RX-10 because I bought it used, so I didn't think about some of these little extra items. I got the lens, the clear UV filter on the front end just to protect, but I literally, have one coming today. I think I paid $7 on Amazon. And that screen is so valuable, and you have to do it because hunting is so tough on cameras.
Yes, I agree. That's definitely worth it, man. I think so.
Dude, that's pro tip. That's why you're on the A-team. Between that and running a POV on the main camera, I think that shows, you're on the A-team.
No, I wouldn't say I'm on the A-team. You're on the A-team as well then, because if I am, you are. You and I are doing the same stuff, so... But, well, cool, man. I think I think we did some good here. Hopefully some people took this out, took something out of it, but didn't think we're just two geeks geeking out with each other.
Yeah. No, I think this has a targeted consumer, and a guy looking to sell film is going to listen to this and hopefully take some good stuff to the woods and produce a better product next year.
Yeah, and last thing before we do, I did want to get into it. The pocket arm from Lone Wolf Custom Gear, I have yet to use it. Byron's trying to get me to use it. I want to use it, but he's used it. I personally think, and my 2 cents are, I use the Muddy Outfitter arm, and it's a 2-piece arm. I think it's imperative to use a 1-piece arm, and the reason being is because it's lighter, it's sleeker, and it's a lot less jockeying around, in my opinion. So I don't know who else out there makes a 1-piece arm, but I the pocket arm, everything I've heard from you and Hollinsworth and some of the guys, like, that is the way to go.
Yeah, and you got to look at the designer, and the purpose for that thing was designed for self-filming and kind of the mid-level DSLR crowd to the semi-professional camcorder crowd. Like
Yep.
that is designed to hunt hard, because the DeQuistas hunt a lot and scout a lot, and it is built to work for that style.
For sure. No, 100%. Yep, I agree. Well, cool, man. I guess let's sign off if you think you're good, and I know I'm good.
I really appreciate it, Aaron. I got a few good tips and stuff from you today that I'm tickled to death with, man. I think this is a good conversation, and thanks for having me on, man.
No problem, buddy. Anytime. You're going to be a regular on here. I think this might be your 3rd time, so let's just keep doing it.
Sounds good, man.
And there you have it. Another awesome podcast. Thank you to Byron for coming on and doing this. Appreciate that very much. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, if you guys have any questions and you want to know more about different stuff, hit us up. We could do a podcast about it, or we'll just, write you in a DM. So if we get enough questions, we'll just do a Q&A podcast about it. But thank you guys for the support. And I do want to elaborate a little bit on something. And I don't know if anybody, when you see me put posts up on Instagram and everything about a new podcast going live, I don't know how you guys are getting to the link. I don't know if you just go to your app or whatnot, but if you have troubles trying to find it, in the bio, in my Instagram bio, if you click on the link, it's what's called a link tree or a link tree link, and in there I think I've got like 4 or 5 different links for whatever app you want to listen to it on. So if you want to listen to it on Spotify, click that link and it'll come up with a Spotify link. Click that, and then you can listen to it. And that goes for Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, I believe, YouTube. So whatever you guys want to do, if you want to get it that way. I'm just trying to figure out how to get these episodes to you guys more convenient and easier. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. Appreciate it. But I guess I'm going to leave you with, go to iTunes, please leave a 5-star rating and leave a review. That would be greatly appreciated. And thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And we will see you right here next week on the Fall Podcast.